Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's episode, we're going to be finally doing the long-awaited SSD installation in the $5 Windows 98 PC. So a little while ago I ended up getting some new hard drives for my computer, and one of those drives was a solid state drive, a 1TB Western Digital solid state drive that I used to replace my existing boot drive, which is this drive right here, this Samsung 850 EVO 250 gig SSD. And I mentioned that I was wanting to install an SSD in this 98 computer, and it's something I've mentioned for a while on this channel actually. And this is the perfect drive to do it because, well, I don't really have a use for it anymore. And obviously, since this is the 98 PC, we're going to be installing Windows 98 on the SSD, and we'll be seeing how much of a performance boost that we get. First off though, I want to give a huge thanks to Audible for sponsoring today's episode. I'll be talking more about them later, so be sure to stick around. So the way the hard drive is installed in this computer is it's actually mounted to the very top of the case. Though the hard drive is just flipped around and the screw holes are facing up, and these 4 screws screw into them. I had somebody comment about this on a video from like a few years ago. It was one of the earlier videos I made on the 98 PC, and they were like, is that the way the hard drive is supposed to be mounted? And well, yeah, it is. This is the only way you can mount the hard drive in this computer. Now, unfortunately, because the SSD we have is obviously a smaller form factor, this is a 2.5-inch drive as opposed to a 3.5-inch drive, it's not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to mount it in this same way. Now, normally you would want to have the ports facing this way so you can get access to, this is going to be, just imagine this flipped around and mounted underneath here. I'm just putting it on top here so you can see the thing. But you would want the ports facing this way so we can plug these cables into them. And this, by the way, is an IDE drive. And because this is a SATA drive, we had to obviously grab one of these off of Amazon. This is a SATA to IDE bridge board by Kingwin. I'll have this link down below if you want to go and check it out. I think it was like $15 or $20. Yeah, so this allows us to plug the SSD into this side here, and then we can use these existing cables and plug them into the bridge like that, so we can use this drive with the computer without any issues, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, we're gonna be, first we have to get this drive out of here, but I don't think we're gonna be able to mount it to this portion of the case here, even if we put the drive in like this, because I looked at the screw holes on the bottom and they don't line up with the screws. They come pretty close, but it's not an exact match. Like I said, before we can install this thing, we need to get the drive out of the computer. So let's just do that. So we're just going to remove the IDE cable here. This is a little bit crammed here, so you have to be kind of careful. We can get in from underneath, and there we go. So we got the IDE cable out, and now we'll grab the power cable. And there we go. So now we just got to unscrew the drive here. You can see, like, when I try to push the drive back here, it's not going to be able to come out. So what we have to do is push, again, I've got the, and I'll move the computer here so I can show you. I've got the top drive here unscrewed, so I can push it forward, and then I can take the hard drive and finagle it out here. It's a Seagate Barracuda, but this was originally in an Apple computer. I believe this came from my Power Mac G4 Quicksilver, which I've featured here and there in a couple videos on the channel, but I haven't done a dedicated video on it just yet. That machine had 2 hard drives in it. This was probably the original one, considering that it has the Apple logo on it here, but the previous owner put another hard drive in, and I believed either cloned this one or just installed a clean copy of OS X on that other, presumably larger hard drive. And then this one was just being used as a secondary drive, and I didn't need it in there. So at the time, it was the only drive that I had, because this machine did not come with a hard drive, so I had to put one in. And this drive is much newer than the computer. This is an 80 gig hard drive, and Windows 98 doesn't take up near that much space. In fact, I usually only have like an 8 gig partition on this drive when I'm using it with Windows 98. But now we're going to have an even larger hard drive, because the SSD is 250 gigabytes in size, which is pretty great. So we've got the drive out, but before I mount the CD drive back in here, I want to check and see what the situation is with mounting here. None of these screw holes are going going to line up. Now, can we mount it in like this? I think we can get, we can probably get one screw hole to line up. You see right there? That one screw hole is lined up. Now the nice thing is we don't really have to mount this at all because this is a solid state drive. So we could just, you know, leave it in the case, but I want to see if we can get it somewhat properly mounted. The first thing though we got to do is connect it to the adapter here, and I need to, yeah, figure out how we're going to get this adapter in here. So one of the problems is, I mean, I think we're not going to be able, because this piece of metal here is blocking the IDE port here, so we're not going to be able to do that, and we can't do it the other way around because, you know, we're going to have the same thing happening. So I think we might have to just literally rest the drive somewhere in the case. But okay, let's just connect it up here. So we're going to connect the actually, let me just connect the IDE cables first here, or the IDE cable and the power cable. So we'll plug that in here. There we go. Oh, it looks like, is this? Oh, I didn't realize this is like a sticky material. You can peel this off, and then I assume you can mount the SSD to this, which is pretty nice. I didn't even realize that. Actually, I wonder if we can... You know what? I mean, this is kind of protecting this board here, but I wonder if we could just take this off, put it on the hard drive here. I mean, on the SSD, just on the back. Wow, we're gonna really improvise here. Well, that actually worked out perfectly. I had to peel a little piece off, but we've got this, you know, it's stuck onto the drive. So let's just connect the power cable here to the adapter, or to the bridge board. So there we go. Then we'll just plug the SSD in. There we go. And then all we gotta do is just, yep, get it back there. Just wanna make sure it works before I peel this off. So we're gonna peel this off, and then just stick it back in there, mount it to the case. That works, my friends, though the issue is, are we gonna be able to get this? Oh, it just fits. Perfect. So there you go, it is a perfect fit. So we've got, I mean, you can see there's a little gap between the top of the drive here and the bottom of the bridge. But the thing's in, it's connected. All that's left to do is turn on this computer and see if it recognizes the drive. Now, this drive currently has an installation of Windows 10 on it because this used to be my boot drive and I haven't formatted it. So let's see how Windows 98, or not Windows 98, let's see how the Windows 98 PC handles that. It's not going to be able to boot from it, obviously, but let's just see what happens. Just before we get to that though, I'd like to take a moment to talk a bit more about today's video sponsor, Audible. We're talking about audiobooks, and Audible is one of the largest providers of them, offering thousands of titles just waiting to be listened to. Their selection is wide-ranging, and chances are you'll be able to find at least one audiobook that piques your interest. Take me for instance, I'm into vintage computers and I love learning about the history of technology, and if you're watching this video, well, that might apply to you as well. With just a quick search, I came across The Innovators by Walter Isaacson, a book that covers the history of the digital revolution and those who played a part in it. It normally costs $34.99, but if you head on over to audible.com/MichaelMJD or text MichaelMJD to 500-500, you can get it for completely free when you sign up for a free trial of Audible's Premium Plus membership. Each month you'll get one free credit that you can exchange for an audiobook like this one. And the best part is you can keep it forever, even if you cancel your membership. On top of that, you'll get access to Audible's Plus catalog, which gives you unlimited listening to a wide selection of titles. So if you like free stuff, don't we all? Head on over to audible.com/MichaelMJD or text MichaelMJD to 500-500 to get started using Audible, and huge thanks to them for supporting the channel. Now, let's get Windows 98 installed on this SSD, shall we? So the 98 PC is booting up right now. I just left the case off, and you can see that green light at the top right there. That is from the bridge, or from the adapter. Just here at a blinking cursor because, well, it's not going to do anything. Obviously, because it cannot boot from the partition on the drive. So we've got our trusty copy of Hiren's Boot CD right here, and we're going to put that into the drive. So we're going to go down to the Linux-based rescue environment, good old Parted Magic, and we're going to start that up. And here it is, everybody, Parted Magic. Yeah, so I just launched Gparted here. We're just waiting for it to start up. There it is. And here's all the partitions. Most of them have this warning triangle over here. I mean, all this is going to be deleted anyway, so we're just going to delete. We're going to delete this one here. We're going to delete the unknown partition. And yeah, this was just, this was a standard Windows 10 install, so, it splits everything up into multiple partitions. So there we go. And with all that done, we're going to go up here to Device and go to Create Partition Table. And it will say it'll erase all data on the disk, which I guess we could have just done this initially, but that's fine with me. So it's going to erase everything. And there we go. So now we can go to New here. And we're going to make this partition 8,000 megabytes. So there we go. And we're going to make this a FAT32 partition primary. And yeah, there we go. So we'll add and apply. And there we go, it's done. So the reason why I create the partition from Parted Magic is because when I boot off of the boot CD, and I mean this is just a standard Windows 98 CD, but I have the restore CD for this computer. And so the reason why that I create the FAT32 partition from here is because when you try to do it from the restore CD, it just takes longer, and I would just rather, do it quickly from here. So we're just going to put in the restore CD here. Now you guys have seen this process before if you watched the initial video that I did when I actually acquired this CD image. Somebody actually sent out a copy of the restore CD for this computer, which I use all the time to restore this machine back to its factory settings. Though now we're going to utilize the SSD to store the operating system. So we're going to press F1 to continue, and it's going to do a hardware check here. Install Windows 98, and we're just going to install Windows because the partition is already created. Alright, so now it's finished copying files, so we're going to remove the disk from the CD drive. And we have to restart, so we'll press F1. And when it boots up here, it will ask us to put in the Windows 98 installation disk. And here's that screen right here. So we're going to pop in the Windows 98 2nd edition installation CD. And we'll press F1 to continue. And that is the last time the user needs to interact with the computer. After this, I mean, it's going to go through the Windows 98 setup process, but it'll be completely automated because it has a script that it uses to input the product key and the company name, the username, all that stuff. So we're just going to let it do that, and I'll be right back with you once Windows 98 is installed. Alright, we're back. So Windows 98 has installed, and this right here is the first time that you have to interact with the system again. And it's to install drivers. So we're going to go ahead and just press next here. For all of these drivers, we'll just, it'll just use the one that it already has in the Windows folder. So that's the plug and play monitor. Then it'll come up with the Ethernet controller. Now, luckily, the Ethernet card that I have in here, it already has the driver built in, to Windows. Like, it already has it installed for us. That is not the case on Windows 7, which is interesting because I had to install the driver manually. Though maybe the file is in the Windows folder, but I just ended up using the one on the CD. So that's nice. So we've got Ethernet right out of the box, and we're going to restart, and it's going to update system settings, and then it'll run its automated routine after setup here to install all of its OEM software. So, you've got like Norton Antivirus, it comes, or it installs DirectX 7.0a, the chipset graphics driver, which because we're using the GPU, we're going to have to install that manually. But all this is automated, which is nice. And you can see at the bottom it says it's going to take about 23 minutes, and it will reboot a couple of times. Alright, so I believe all of those automatic routines have finished up, so we're just going to log in. Let's actually press escape so we don't have to put in a password. And here we are on the desktop. So Norton Antivirus is going to come up, and then here's the application loader again. It's just letting us know that everything is installed, so we'll click OK. And we're not going to bother with Norton Antivirus because, well, it's a really out-of-date program and we're not really going to use it. So the only thing we have to do is install the graphics driver, which I have on a CD right here. Let me grab it. So we'll put that into the drive, and we just got to open up my computer, or we got to go to properties rather and go to device manager. We have to manually install this. So this is again the chipset driver here that we're not using, and we want to update the standard PCI graphics adapter. So we'll go to properties. We'll go to driver, and we can install it through the installation program here. It will fail. If you saw the video, you'll know that. The system is dangerously low in resources. Would you like to terminate the following application PNY? This is like a Windows 3.1 style message here. So we'll say yes, we want to terminate it. Okay, so we're going to update the driver, and we're going to display list of all drivers, have disk, and we just got to select the Windows 98 driver on the CD, which is located in drivers and Win98. It's in this folder right here. There it is. Yes. So yeah, this is the only driver that doesn't automatically install, and that's obvious because this card is, you know, it's a dedicated graphics adapter that did not come with the system, so it wants to install the driver for the integrated graphics. So once this finishes installing, it'll have us do one more reboot, and then we can put in this CD right here, which contains Crystal Disk Mark, and we'll compare the speeds, and we'll see just how much of an improvement that we get. And this message always comes up because it tries to copy a older version of an existing file, so I just say yes, I want to keep the existing one. So we'll click on finish, and yes, we're going to restart now. And we're back. Check that out. We've got a fully working install of Windows 98. So the only thing left to do is pop in the CD with Crystal Disk Mark on it. So let me do that, and we're going to run the tests on the C drive. Alright, so here are the read and write test results from Crystal Disk Mark. I'm going to have the original hard drive that was in here on the left side, so we can compare. And right off the bat, you'll notice that the results are about the same, with the exception of the 4 kilobyte test there at the bottom. The random 4 kilobyte test, you can see, has drastically improved from what we saw on the old hard drive, so that's good. Now you might be asking yourself, well, how is this possible that we put an SSD in here and we're getting essentially the same results here? Well, it's a very simple answer. We're experiencing a bottleneck. Now, it's a bottleneck caused either by the bridge that we used to connect the IDE cable to the SATA SSD, or by the IDE connector on the motherboard itself, and I'm certain that that's what it is, because again, look at these two tests, we're getting about the same results, again with the exception of the random 4 kilobyte test at the bottom. Now, IDE, or parallel ATA, can support faster transfer speeds than 3.6 megabytes per second, but whatever iteration of parallel ATA that is on the motherboard here, the connector on the motherboard is limiting the potential of both of these drives here, because this is a 7200 RPM hard drive that we've got right here. We should be getting faster transfer speeds than 3.6 megabytes per second. So the motherboard in the Windows 98 PC is creating a bottleneck, and because of that, we're really not going to see a whole lot, if any, improvement in system performance here. Now, if I were to take this drive out and plug it into my main computer and like create a virtual machine and use that as the hard drive, yeah, we'll notice some insane speeds off of that drive. We'll notice some really fast, really fast boot up times, really fast program launch times. But because we're limited by the IDE interface on the motherboard, we're not going to see really any improvements here. And honestly, I might just put this drive back in the computer, to be really honest with you, because you saw we're getting basically the same speeds with this drive. We're getting the same, around 3 megabytes per second read and write. It personally, for me, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to keep this drive in here, other than just to say that we did it, which, yeah, we were able to install this drive in here without any problem, so I guess Murphy's Law hasn't made its appearance here in this video today, which is great, because like I always say, things always seem to go wrong. Actually, I'll do a poll. And I'll do a poll in the community tab. So I'll have a link in the comments, and you guys can answer if you want me to keep the SSD in here just for the heck of it, just to say we can do it, or would you like me to take it out and use it in another video project that I don't really have any idea what I could use it for yet, but something will always come up. And hey, if you guys have any suggestions, be sure to let me know down in the comments. But that's going to wrap it up for today's episode, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to get subscribed down below and turn on those channel notifications if you haven't already to get notified whenever I upload a new video, which I do multiple times every single week on this channel. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.